So, the big question is this: how are entrepreneurs and real estate investors like us, ones who want to grow our businesses and who are tired of paying for really expensive alternative lending? How do we tap into the most inexpensive money available and do it without the hassle of typical borrowing? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Merrill Chandler, and welcome to the Are You Effable podcast. Welcome. My name is Merrill Chandler. I'm the host of this amazing podcast, Are You Effable? This episode, we're going to be discussing the 8 most common, most frequent, fatal funding mistakes that real estate investors, business owners, all entrepreneurs make and don't even know you're doing it. So, I'll see you back in a moment. And we're back. Okay. So this episode is about fatal funding errors, right? The mistakes we make, the landmines we step on, because since we don't know what the rules of the game are, we need to at least discuss how to stop failing. First things first, let's stop failing, and then we can work on building the appropriate fundable profile. We can look at our borrower data. We can look at our performance behavior in every one of the metrics that FICO and underwriter systems work or measure. But we've got to stop stepping on the landmine. So I'm going to do a countdown in this. And we may have alluded to some, alluded to others, because it's so interconnected and and there are so many moving parts, right? You've seen the performers on stage where they keep all the plates spinning, right? And they're just running along trying to keep all the plates spinning. To a certain, unless you know what you're doing, having a borrower profile that is even remotely meaningful to a lender is just that complicated. But the second you know the rules of the game, the second you know what you're doing, it is so simple. So let's get into these fatal funding errors, right? These landmines that all business professionals, I mean, the vast majority, I can't say every single one of them, but I haven't met anybody who hasn't blown something up in their fundability by stepping on one of these landmines, one of these fatal funding mistakes. All right. So let's it's countdown from 8 down to 1. Number 8, not having the right business address. Now we're talking on the business side of things. All right. On the business funding side, not having the right business address. Do you realize, unless you're in one of those remote areas of the United States where you're where a post office box or a commercial mailbox like a UPS store or otherwise, that's the only place that you can receive mail, you're okay. But everywhere else in the United States, if your business address is your residence, you're going to be denied, or you're going to be approved for little tiny baby amounts, right? If your business address is at a post office box, you're going to get denied, all right? Or your approvals are going to be what I call test approvals. They're going to say, oh, let's give them a couple grand, see what they do. But you can't do anything with a couple grand, right? We want to be able to get a $50,000 business line of credit, write a check and do a deal, right? We want 10 of those accounts for 500 grand or 100,000 from each bank. That's what the $1 million funding formula is all about. But until you can't even get there with anything more than a test approval until you have the right kind of business address. And that business address, the closer you are to brick and mortar, the better you are when it comes to having a professional business address, not a mailbox, not a post office box, and not your residence, right? Now, there are hacks to all of this, which you're going to learn by go to fundinghackers.com. Check out the boot camp. Check out the rest of these podcasts. Just keep binging. We will reveal it all. But the bottom line is that you need to have the right kind of business address, or you get an automatic denial. And that denial comes right out of the automatic underwriting systems because they reject those addresses out of hand. So, number 8. Most fatal funding mistake is not having the right address. Let's go to number 7. Thinking you can't qualify because you can't go full doc. So many people come to me. This is outrageous. And I don't know why other educators are not just jumping up and down on the rooftop screaming this out, right? I'm the only one. I'm literally screaming now. Now, most people don't even apply because they don't believe they can go full doc. But you know what full documentation represents? It's your tax returns. But do you know what lenders look at in your tax returns? Your top line revenue for the business. I know as an American citizen, it's your duty to minimize taxes, but lenders don't look at the bottom line. But people come to me all the time. Oh yeah, I did $2 million in sales, but I write everything off, and I only did like $8,000 in income. The lenders want to know what your top line is, guys. Landmine, boom. You keep blowing up because you don't know what they're measuring. They want your top line. And many times lenders will lend 10 to 15% in an unsecured business line of credit up to $100,000 based on your top line. Okay? So, thinking you can't qualify because you can't go full doc. Going full doc isn't the worst thing in the world, but just make sure you know what they're looking for, right? Now, the other thing is you can't go full doc because you think that you can't qualify for stated income. But remember what I've said in other episodes. If you're looking for proof, full doc simply means they're looking to prove what you put on your application. But if you don't have to prove what's on your application, and you know what the performance data they're measuring and the borrower behavior they're measuring, you don't even need full doc. But you fail, the funding error is thinking you have to go full doc when you don't have to, if you've done the right things. And if you do go full doc, knowing that they're looking at the top line rather than the bottom line of your taxes and your financials. This is crazy. I don't understand I don't understand why we don't know this. So that's why it took me literally years and years to even come to the awareness that I needed to do a podcast, because I just thought I knew everybody didn't know everything, but I thought there were some common things that people knew. We don't know anything. Most people don't know most things. So here we are. Let's go to number 6. Thinking you know what underwriters are looking for. Right. So we talked about full doc, but you don't even know what an underwriter is looking for. If you think they're looking for credit score, we already said they're not looking for a credit score. If you think they're looking for income alone or income amounts, no, they're not looking for income. They're looking for your relationship between income and your debts, right? You can still get qualified if you have the right ratios, right? All of these have hacks. Every one of these fatal funding mistakes, every one of these landmines has a way to avoid it. So underwriters there are 40 characteristics. You may be heavy or hefty and powerful in some of the metrics, and you don't even know they're being measured. So you got to know the rules of the game. All right. Next, let's talk about number 5. Having the wrong business type for funding. All right. We do a huge, there's going to be an entire podcast on this topic alone. But what we mean by business type is, did you realize that there are what are called SIC codes? All right. Standard Industrial Classification Codes. Now that's the older version. There's what's now called the National NAICS codes, and it's the National Industrial Classification System. These are numbers that are put next to on your Dun & Bradstreet, on your credit applications, or on your account information that says that you're a type of business, and different types of business have different levels of fundability. So Brad and I talked about this it's coming. We have a new podcast that'll be coming out that talks about the Paydex score, right? So stay tuned for that one. But I'm telling you, we went to when Brad and I were back at the first FICO World, right? The FICO score development team, we asked certain questions that, we don't have the answers to that. Go talk to the folks over at Dun & Bradstreet. Dun & Bradstreet had a kiosk there, and we went over and asked, hey, could you give us a list of the most fundable businesses? And they said, well, we can't give you the list of from top most fundable to least fundable, but we can give you percentages of what has been funded, right? What kind of credit comes with these types of or approvals comes with these types of industry types. Freaking gold mine, right? And so if you have the wrong type of business, you're going to be rejected out of hand. But there are ways, just like there's asset protection mechanism, there are hacks to all of this. There is a way to set up your business. What doesn't matter if you own gyms or you're an esthetician or a race car driver. It does not matter how you make your living. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, real estate investor, whatever you're doing, you can establish a business model that is fundable and can fund all of your activities, all your deals, all the things you want to do in your professional life. They're all available, guys. You just have to know what the fundable entity is, or how to convert your firm, your company, into a fundable entity form. Hacks to all of this. Every one of these, and we got deep dives on all of it. So let's move on to number 4. The fourth most fatal funding mistake real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and business owners make is getting denied because of the application score. All right. Here's another thing you didn't even know, okay? Application score is a FICO score that has nothing to do with your credit and everything to do with comparing the data you put on your application, comparing it to the data that is in the credit bureaus and the early warning systems and Falcon and the other databases they check your data points against. Guys, if you don't know what's being reported about you, how can you reconcile your own? How do you know what to put on your credit application? The credit application is measured against the data, and if you have too high of a difference between that data, FICO's application score gives a score to the underwriting software and says, "Yep, these guys are worth denying." You don't even know the application score exists. You don't know that they're comparing that what you're putting on your credit app is even meaningful. Do you realize I've had clients who've come in and I say, okay, so what'd you put on your last I make $10,000 a month. All right, so that's $120,000 a year. All right, that's what you put on your application. Well, sometimes I get bonuses, so I think there was a credit application. I put $13,000, and I'm like, dude, do you realize that if you file 2 applications within X period of time, and it differs by profile, but in different, and it's $3,000 difference, you're going to get rejected because it looks fraudulent. Somebody's just guessing at how much money you make. And they say, invariably, the client or the student says, yes, but I'm just telling the truth. And I'm going, yes, you're telling the truth, but whoever has the most documentation wins. That's how our legal system works. That's how our financial system works. Whoever has the most documentation wins, right? The most proof. It doesn't matter if you made $10,000 one month and $13,000 the next month. If you don't know what FICO and the underwriting software is measuring, they're going to reject your application even though you're making more money, because they're trying to protect against fraud more than they're trying to prove you the one borrower. See what I'm saying? Because you, the one borrower, is worth X to them. You could be worth losses and losses and losses to them if they don't protect against that fraud. So, number 4, getting denied because of the application score. We are going to be learning. Keep binging. I say it every time. Keep binging. You've got to establish what the databases have and fill out an application to match exactly what the databases have. Or in the reverse, establish the truth of your situation, your fundability, and then make sure all the databases have it. You with me? But the application score will get you rejected out of hand, and you don't even know that an application score exists. So you got to make sure that you're not just telling the truth, you're telling a truth that it is acceptable. Because if you put down 11,000 instead of 10,000 on the application, you probably would have been approved. Now, is it a lie? Yes, but we are erring on being conservative. Lenders don't care if you downplay how much you make. They just don't want you picking some random number and funding on that random number. You with me? So 11,000 would have probably been approved. 13,000 was too far of a stretch for the application score to reconcile the database data points against what the client put on the application. So there are tolerances, and there are hacks to all of these, right? There's insider secrets on how to do all these, and you're going to learn every single one of them. So the discoveries here are just going to mind blown. All right, the next thing. Oh, by the way, and if you're loving this, then make sure you comment. Make sure you just put it out there that you're loving what's going on. Both on the podcast, you can get all the written versions in our blogs of these podcasts. Fundinghackers.com. Click on the blog button and go to the blogs. Read the blogs. Comment. Let other people know. People who haven't taken the time yet to invest in their fundability. Let them know that it's worth beginning this exploration, right? It's worth beginning this journey, and let them join us on binging away, right? So, and thank you for that. Thank you. If you like what we're doing, if you like how I am pulling back the curtain, if you like how I'm revealing the things that are possible for your fundability, then I'm doing you a solid, you do other newbies a solid. Just let them know that it's safe to at least try and explore this possibility. Fair enough? You down? Okay. Let's look at number 3. Chasing fake business credit that actually destroys your fundability. Now, we do have an entire podcast that's coming up, that's on the docket, and we're going to go through fake business credit offers. All right, there is a way to know exactly what is fake and what is not. When I say fake, a fake business credit is credit that says business on the credit card or business on the statement, business on the marketing, but actually reports to your personal profile. If it reports to your personal profile and you use it for your business, your utilization goes up, your balance goes up, and your score, your fundability, and future approvals go down. So you can't get fake business credit. And all the time, since nobody knows this, everybody keeps investing in. Perfect example. There is not a single credit card offered by Capital One that doesn't report to your personal profile, guys. The Spark card, there's a couple of others. Any of those, they report on your personal profile, and every time you use it, it ruins your fundability. And here's the thing. Remember, in one of the previous episodes, I said you can have too much. One of the funding failures, or one of the ways to be unfundable, is to have too much available credit. Here's the thing: you can have too much available credit on the personal side, but you cannot have too much available credit on the business side. And yet, here you think you go to Capital One in good faith, it says business credit, and then they report to your personal, and it just increases your available credit on personal. Bad juju. And then every time you use it for your business, it ends up hurting your utilization. It kills the goose that lays the golden egg. All right. Now, so we have to stop chasing the fake business credit offers and establish true business credit. And there's an entire podcast devoted to that. All right. Number 2. All right. Guys, we do have another podcast to this one, but notice we're already spending so much time together. I just want to go over the highlights in these podcasts so that when we start establishing it, you know the context, you know where I'm coming from, right? I don't have to explain myself all over again. Number 2, most fatal funding mistakes almost every real estate investor, entrepreneur, business owner makes is thinking you are the types of deals you do. Thinking you are I'm a real estate investor. No, you're not. You're a businessman or businesswoman who has chosen to exercise your talents and skills in real estate investing. You are not a note buyer. You are not a gym owner. Okay? These are subtles. You are a genius behind the business, and you're expressing yourself through the business. Now, here's the reason why it sounds like I'm splitting hairs, but guys, if I'm splitting hairs, so are the damn lenders, because lenders will not lend to your deals. You may have already discovered they won't lend to real estate investors. They won't lend to note buyers. They won't lend to dozens of types of businesses, right? Because those businesses are not fundable. You are. And so number 2 is if you believe you are the deals you do, if you believe you are a real estate investor rather than the genius behind it, you're never going to get funded, guys. I'm telling you right now, you are not going to get funded. But if you know how, if you know the hack, and again, we have a whole section on it. If you know the hack on how to separate you as the fundable entity from your deals, I will show you how to get funded. All right? But that is the number 2 most fatal funding mistake. Now, the final one, drum roll, please. Here we got drum rolls. Okay, that sucked. Drum roll. The single number 1 most biggest, ugliest landmine funding mistake, funding error that business owners and real estate investors and entrepreneurs make is killing your funding golden goose, and you don't even know what it is. All right? You don't know what your golden goose is, and you don't know how you're killing it. So it's so cliche out there now. Everybody says you don't know what you don't know. But I'm telling you, you have no freaking clue what your golden goose is and why you're killing it. All right? So let's talk about that for just a second. Your golden goose is your personal, qualified borrower profile. Your personal, qualified borrower profile. Not your business. Your business is secondary, even to business lending. We'll get into that later. A whole episode on that. I know you keep hearing me say a whole episode, but look at this. We're already spending so much time, and we're skipping stones across the top. We've got to take each one of these into deeper dives, okay? But your golden goose, the goose that lays golden eggs, is a qualified borrower profile, your personal profile. Some of that is represented on your credit profile as reported by the bureaus and scored by FICO. But that is responsible. You may have heard me say it, but 80%. FICO told us, the FICO business liaison told me personally that 80% of all business lending decisions for small and entrepreneurial businesses depends on a qualified personal profile, a personal profile, a personal credit profile that reflects business lender guidelines. We have to shape your personal profile to meet those business lender guidelines. When you don't, you're killing the goose that lays the golden egg. So let's go through every one of these funding mistakes. Right? So here's the thing. If your business address is at your home, you're confusing the algorithm and they're downgrading your fundability because you can't have your business at your home address and be fundable, right? So personal profile has to have a distinct residential address. That's what it's depending on. Business address has to be separate. Number 7, you can't qualify because you can't go full doc. They're looking at, you can't, if you know what they're measuring, I told you, you could get qualified. But what are they measuring? FICO business liaison, Dave Smith, told me that business credit reporting today is what personal credit reporting was in the mid-'80s. I mean, what is that? 40 years ago? 30 plus years ago. Guys, they can't look at trade lines on business credit. They have to look at how you treat lender money on your personal profile, not on business profile. So you can't, when you don't go full doc, they're measuring your personal profile. The golden goose, the goose that lays the golden eggs, is the personal profile. They're looking at how you treat that lender money, your credit cards, your auto loans, your mortgages. They're measuring all of that, but it's all on your personal. And if you don't do it right, you're killing the golden goose. All of these, having the wrong business type for funding, getting denied because the application score, chasing fake business credit. Remember how I said you put business credit, fake business credit on your personal profile, you ruin your personal profile. So, first of all, you got to understand that your personal profile is the golden goose, and that if you treat it right, keep it healthy, do the right things that lenders are measuring, then it's going to lay forever the golden eggs of business lines of credit, true business credit cards, commercial loans, real estate loans, blanket loans. You're going to get the best rates on homes and auto loans, best rates on your business credit cards and personal credit cards. Whatever your funding goals are, you're going to get the very best possible. No lender's going to deny you because you are taking care of this goose that lays the golden egg. All right? The other metaphor that you may have heard us say, and we'll be saying over and over, is that if you do the right things on your personal profile, that personal profile turns your business into that personal profile becomes a business funding machine. The personal profile turns into a business funding machine. So guys, as you can tell, I like to yell, or I'm emphatic. I'm passionate about this. There's no reason that once you watch this, we can stop stepping on the landmines. Remember I said at the beginning, the best way for us to improve our fundability is to stop blowing it up. And these 8 areas are insanely easy ways to stop blowing up our fundability. So this is Merrill Chandler, your host of Are You Effable? Go to fundinghackers.com, click on the blog, do a deeper dive and read the words and look at the diagrams and really check in to what is possible here, and continue to binge, continue to watch the podcast, continue to listen to the podcast. Drive time magic for those of you who are workout magic. Make sure that you know the rules of this game, and I will see you on the next episode. Hey guys, thank you for listening to Are You Effable? Please leave comments because I would love to read about your aha moments from this episode. And be sure to visit fundinghackers.com to view the blog post, get important links, join our community, and much, much more. And you gotta tell your friends about this podcast. We want them to become effable too.